Well, we certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons, didn't we? Our proposal to help young savers onto the housing ladder using the efficiencies that are inherent in pension saving, essentially by combining the two, met with a very mixed reaction, I think it's fair to say. There were two very polarised schools of opinion on this. One camp, broadly speaking, the advisory body seemed to think that it was an absolutely dreadful idea. And the other camp, more or less everyone else who commented, thought it was an absolutely great idea. Very little middle ground there. I think advisors have traditionally had some difficulty around change and innovation. It has sometimes been an area of problem for them. And equally, of course, I think we have to accept that the target audience here are young savers. Young savers aren't really traditional client fodder for most of the independent financial advisory community. They simply don't have enough money at the moment to be of interest to most financial advisory businesses' models. I feel that's probably a little short-sighted because one day they will be, and I think the advisory community showing a commitment towards innovation and a commitment towards helping young savers would in the long term do themselves no end of good. Yes, advisors notwithstanding, we did receive some support from some pretty significant sources, the most prominent of which was the Secretary of State for Housing, who adopted our ideas and actually came out and said he thought it should be government policy, which is extremely encouraging. We also had the head of policy at Scottish Widows coming out and saying, yes, their policy now is to support our initiative and they believe that young savers should be able to use all the benefits that accrue through saving through a pension in order to allow them to access the housing market earlier than they otherwise would. This proposal, at its heart, is cultural. What we're trying to do is create prosperity through engagement. And you have to understand the detail of that. We're not firing out some crackpot idea willy-nilly without having thought about it. There was a lot of detail in the proposal that went to the Treasury. But absolutely at its heart is the fact that this country has a savings ratio problem, and particularly amongst young people. And one way to get them to save in a much more committed way is to make that saving relevant to their almost universal aspiration to access the housing market. Yes, the housing market is already a very expensive place to try and enter into. I don't believe that this would materially affect that, although there has been some comment to that effect, but simply saying, gosh, houses are too expensive at the moment, therefore young people shouldn't be allowed to or encouraged to enter the market, is both crass and, frankly, unbelievably short-sighted. I think our message to opponents of this particular initiative, and particularly the advisory community, is, come on guys, look at the detail, don't dismiss it out of hand. This was a carefully thought through proposal which protected the value of the pension, protected the individual's long-term savings, but gave an enormous advantage and, most importantly, is really prosperity creative. That is something that is at the core of what your profession, the advisory profession, really should be all about. This is an opportunity to be at the heart of innovation and be useful to an audience that currently, at the moment, frankly, see you as completely irrelevant. So come on, guys, let's get with the programme.